Well, friends, today we will discuss characteristics of water and its role in plant life. As you are well versed, water is the most useful compound. It's the most useful compound having certain unique properties on account of its unique physical and chemical characteristics. Before we will understand the water relations, plant water relations, we would like to discuss various characteristics of water which play a very important role in the plant life. First of all, let's understand what we mean by the water. If you have to define, you see, water can be referred as a fluid or true elixir of life. Because why we called as a true elixir of life? Because it's a natural resource essentially required by all living organisms for their vital physiological activities. And it's the most important constituent of cell protoplasm. It constitutes up to 50 to 90% fresh weight of most plants, mesophytes and hydrophytes. And it's required for the development, for the formation of organic matter. Approximately 500 grams of water is absorbed by plants for every gram of organic matter synthesized. When we see structurally, water molecule is an irregular tetrahedron and it has two hydrogen atoms covalently bonded to oxygen atom. And the bond angle is 105 degrees and interatomic distance, so with an interatomic distance of 0.0965 millimeters. So it's made up of hydrogen and oxygen. Oxygen atom is more electronegative than hydrogen. As a result, oxygen attracts electrons of the hydrogen, forming covalent bond. So when you see the water molecule, there is a net partial negative charge at the oxygen side and a net partial positive charge at the hydrogen side. That means these partial charges are though equal. So we can say water molecule carries no net charge. And each water molecule, which is made up of, this is hydrogen, which has one proton, one electron. This is another hydrogen. And then the oxygen has 8 protons. And then it has 8 electrons, 2 in the inner orbit and 6 in the outer orbit. So there is a combination of hydrogen, 2 hydrogen and oxygen, a chemical reaction, and it results in the formation of a bonding between the hydrogen. There will be a covalent bonding, sharing of the electrons between oxygen and this hydrogen, and then there will be one more sharing of the electrons. As a result, this hydrogen side will have a partial positive charge, and there will be the negative charge towards the oxygen side. So water molecule has total 10 protons, 8 from oxygen, so it has 8 from this and 1 from each hydrogen. There will be 10 electrons total, 4 will be shared, these are the 4 electrons, and 6 will be these 4 and these 2 will be unshared, that will be non-shared from oxygen. So that means we have an H2O which is having partial positive charge as well as the partial negative charge on the oxygen side and the positive charge on the hydrogen side. So water molecule is polar in nature. The opposite partial charge on the water molecule helps in the formation of an intermolecular hydrogen bonding. So hydrogen bond is a weak electrostatic chemical bond, but there will be many hydrogen bonds within water molecule, different molecules that together can exert a strong force. Otherwise, it's weak bonds. So it is formed between covalently bonded hydrogen atom and strongly electronegative oxygen atom, which has a lone pair of electrons. So that means we have a water molecule which is having an oxygen, it's having a hydrogen. This is positive charge, this will be negative charge. As we have already mentioned, how there's a pairing of the electrons, covalent bonding is formed there. So we have a bond length here which will be 104.5 degrees. So there will be a net negative charge, there will be a net positive charge. And each water molecule, hydrogen bonding between water molecule results in local aggregation of water molecules. Each water molecule is capable of forming hydrogen bonding with 4 neighboring water molecules. Energy of hydrogen bond is lesser than ionic or covalent bond and greater than van der Waals forces. Pure water is colorless, odorless, liquid with molecular weight 18 Dalton, melting point is 0 degree and boiling point is 100 degrees with a maximum density of 1 gram per cubic centimeter at 4 degrees Celsius. Hydrogen bonds between the water molecule confer a unique physical properties to the water. So that means hydrogen bonding between the two water molecules, it confers a unique physical properties to the water. So when you see the hydrogen bonding is taking place. This is one water molecule, this is another water molecule. So hydrogen bonding can take place between the oxygen and the hydrogen of the another molecule. So there can be 4 molecules attached to one molecule of the water. As we have seen here, these dotted lines depicts the hydrogen bonds between the electronegative and the electropositive hydrogen bond of the two water molecules. Having said so, let's understand the properties of water. The first property which we will discuss here is the high dielectric constant. What we mean by the dielectric constant? Dielectric constant means the number of times a solvent decreases the attraction between oppositely charged ions. That means a solvent which decreases the attraction between oppositely charged, suppose sodium chloride, you put a water in it, it will be made a solution. So a measure of a capacity to neutralize the attractions between electric charges. As I said, water has a high dielectric constant, so it has more power to decrease the attraction between oppositely charges. Pure water has the highest dielectric constant, that is 80. That is why water is considered as a universal solvent. Polarity of water makes water an excellent solvent. It helps in ionization of solutes, both electrolytes and polar molecules. So, hydrogen bonding between water and solutes, what it does, it reduces the electrostatic interactions between charged molecules. Polar ends of water molecule forms a shield or a shell of hydration around charged or partially charged groups. As a result, the electrostatic interaction between charged substances is reduced. Of course, that increases the solubility then. That's why we say that water is a universal solvent, because it neutralizes the charges it neutralizes the forces between the two charged molecules. What is the role of this property, this unique property of the water? Because of this property, water acts as a strong translocation or transportation medium. because it forms the solution, where it helps in the formation of a solution. It can facilitate the entry of essential elements, mineral elements through root system. Water can carry them. Distribution of elements across the plant body can occur through the diffusion, which is a passive movement across the plasma membrane, either simple or which is facilitated. Diffusion means the movement of molecules from region of its higher concentration to its lower concentration. And there can be also the osmosis, because the osmosis, as you said, is the movement of solvent from the region of higher water potential or higher free energy to the region of lower water potential or low free energy across a semi-permeable membrane. This also plays a significant role in the relations of the plant. This absorption of water from soil through roots and also conduction through plant body. And also it has a role in the imbibition, which is a special type of a diffusion where water is absorbed by the hydrophilic colloidal solid particles of dry substances. So there can be the movement also through imbibition. So this is how, because of its high dielectric constant, it has a role in the plant life. Similarly, water has a high specific heat. Specific heat means the heat required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of substance or water by 1 degree Celsius. Water molecules experience a high specific heat. 1 calorie or 4.184 joules of heat energy to raise 1 degree Celsius in 1 gram of pure water. Really a very high calories are needed. Water requires relatively large amount of heat to raise its temperature. And due to strong intermolecular forces of attraction and arrangement of molecules, it requires more of the heat to increase the temperature. So rise in temperature induces vibration or increase kinetic energy of water molecules. So if more energy, so when there is a vibration in the water molecules, now they will require more energy to break hydrogen bonding between these vibrating molecules. So living tissue experience considerable heat absorption with little increase in their internal temperature. So there is an increase. There is more absorption of the temperature, but their internal temperature does not increase to that extent. This thermal property of water greatly helps plants to stabilize potentially harmful temperature fluctuations. Because you see, plants are exposed to very high temperature fluctuations, but at the same time there is not a much increase, though it is taking constantly the temperature, but there is not much increase in their internal temperature. So high temperature stability in cactus and other desert plants is because of this property of the water. So what is the role in plant life? Living tissue experience considerable heat absorption. They'll continuously absorb heat. Little increase in their internal temperature. This thermal property of water greatly helps plants to stabilize potentially harmful temperature fluctuations. As I have already mentioned, this is the role of this unique property in the plant life. The next is high latent heat of vaporization. What we mean by the latent heat of vaporization: hidden amount of thermal energy required to produce a phase change, that is liquid to a gas at constant temperature. So there is a phase change, that is liquid is to be changed to gas. The quantity of heat in joules or calories required to convert 1 kg of the water at its boiling point as 100 degrees Celsius to vapor or gas without any change in temperature. Water evaporates slowly when heated considerably. It requires 22.5 into 10 raised power 5 joules per kg of energy to convert 1 kg of water at 100 degrees to a vapor. So it needs a very high latent heat of vaporization. To form a vapor, it needs a huge volume amount of heat, thermal energy. Highest value known for any liquid. Energy is used to break hydrogen bonds. As we have already seen, between water molecules is a hydrogen bond. That's used to break hydrogen bonds between water molecules. What is the role of this high latent heat of vaporization? It enables plants to dissipate huge amount of thermal energy. Where you see plants are exposed to the thermal energy, exposed to the temperature fluctuations. So once it is absorbing the heat, that heat is overall changing it from the liquid to the gas phase, but at the same time it dissipates the huge amount, though there is not much increase in the temperature, that favors the evapotranspiration. So there can be a foliar transpiration because of this high latent heat of vaporization. Foliar transpiration will have a cooling effect on leaf surface during sunny days. Because whenever there is a sunny day, normally there will be more temperature fluctuations, but it doesn't have an effect because of the evapotranspiration, it will have a cooling effect on it. The next property is the latent heat of fusion. That means heat energy required to convert unit mass of solid to a liquid. Now we are changing the solid to a liquid at the same temperature. To melt 1 gram of ice at 0 degrees, it requires 80 calories or 335 joules of energy, and it is considered as high latent heat of fusion. To convert solid to a liquid, and it's considered as high latent heat of fusion. Upon melting, ice yields less volume of water. When you melt our ice or this ice or this solid form of it, it will yield less volume of water. As water molecules are less efficiently packed in ice than in liquid water. We have 4 water molecules surround each water molecule is in ice, but there will be 5 or more being efficiently packed in liquid state. So water molecules are joined by hydrogen bonding. So 4 water molecules surround each water molecule in ice. It forms a tetrahedral structure. This will be one water molecule, this will be another water molecule, this will be another water molecule, this will be another. So there will be a tetrahedral structure. A tetrahedral structure in the ice is formed here. Now what will happen it? Less hydrogen bonding makes ice less dense than liquid water. That's why water expands on freezing and is less dense in solid state. Ice has a lower density, approximately 0.9168 grams per centimeter cube at 0 degrees than water. That's why ice floats on water. So ice floats on the surface of the water in oceans, lakes and rivers. You'll see the ice floating on the water because it is less denser than the water. So we have here in this, because it will have more hydrogen bonding, liquid have more hydrogen bonding, it will be more denser, water will be more denser, but snow ice will be less denser because there will be stretched, there will be less hydrogen bonding and less water molecules surrounding each water molecule, which makes it less denser. That's why it floats. The ice and the water, it has a structural difference because of the hydrogen bonding and presence of the water molecules. So overall, what will be the role of this property? It has an obvious advantage to aquatic life existing in temperate zones during winters. The lattice structure of ice makes it less dense, enabling ice to float on water. So under extreme, so once it is floating, see it's giving protection to the ecosystem. Underwater aquatic life, because it's floating on the surface of the water. Under extreme freezing conditions, more expansion of water can lead to an adverse effect, that is the frostbites in plants. So the detrimental effect is caused by the expansion of ice related to liquid water. Ice crystals, what they will do in the frostbite is, when the ice crystals will be formed there, they will rupture the delicate cellular membranes, which will be a source of permanent damage to the cells. So it has adverse effects, detrimental effects on the plant life also, but it has a useful effect also, because it makes, because of this property, the ice is less dense than water. One more property of the water is the cohesive and the adhesive properties of the water. It's again because of the hydrogen bonding, because there are the similar types of the molecules, intermolecular forces of attraction. Due to hydrogen bonding between water molecules is called as cohesion. So two molecules, different molecules are joined together, same molecules, that is called as a cohesion. So water molecules, because of polar nature, form hydrogen bonding and hold us to each other, forming a continuous water column with high tensile strength. Attraction of water molecules to a solid surface is called as the adhesion. So it will be between different molecules, liquid, and it can be between a protein or other types of the polysaccharides. That's called the adhesion. So water molecules can adhere to many other molecules like proteins, polysaccharides, etc. of plant cells. Both these properties, we'll see, they contribute greatly in capillary rise of water in plants and also help us in ascent of sap in plants. So there is one more property, that property is called as the high tensile strength. Water has an ability to withstand pulling without breaking because of cohesion. It can be measured, this tensile strength of water can be measured as a force per unit area, that is Newtons per centimeter square. It is a cohesion which confers upon water high tensile strength, especially in xylem elements. As a result, unbreakable water columns rise to the top of the tall tree. You have a tree, you'll see from bottom to the top of the tall tree, the water is going up because of the column which has a very high tensile strength. Water in small capillaries can resist tensions even higher than -30 megapascals. A sufficient energy is required for breaking of the water column. So we'll see presence of gas bubbles or cavitation within xylem vessels can also reduce the tensile strength of the water column. So it can lead to the adverse effects on water transportation. That is in case of the adverse conditions when the gas bubbles can be introduced. So though there are alternative to the capillaries, xylem vessels through their pits, and the water column continues to go up. So this is because of the cohesiveness, there is a high tensile strength in the water. One more property of the water is its surface tension. Surface tension is a force between molecules at the surface. It's a force acting between molecules of water at air-water interface, especially in the leaves, near stomata. Intermolecular attraction between water molecules at the surface leads to formation of a stretched surface. And direction of the force is tangential to the surface, and the tendency of the force is to reduce the surface area. The surface tension can be measured force per unit length, that is Newton per meter. Thus, water molecules are attracted to underlying molecules. First, they are attracted with each other, and since there is an air interface on the other side of it, the molecules which are on the surface, they will be pulled down. As a result, it's creating a pressure in the rest of the liquid. So surface tension is creating a sort of a pressure, a negative pressure, which will go down through the xylem vessels, which will result in the transpirational pull. So water has a relatively higher surface tension. You see, if you will see the leaves, they are subjected to solar energy. There will be evapotranspiration through stomata. Stomatal transpirations will be there. And there is a continuity of the column through its anatomical structures, which you call as a xylem. And once there is a loss on this side, and due to the surface tension here, that surface tension is the negative hydrostatic pressure which goes down. As a result, from soil, water will come through the roots, which will be pulled up. So it helps surface tension of water, which is relatively higher, helps in transpirational pull that facilitates ascent of sap in plants. And cohesion also accounts for the high surface tension because it is continuous column. It prevents, once there is more surface tension in the water, especially near the pits, it prevents the entry of air bubbles in water and through small pits of the cell wall. So surface tension also plays a role in plant life. Overall, we have seen what is the relationship of a water with the plant. So we say water, which is called the elixir of life, it allows maximum transmittance of light to be absorbed by pigments during photosynthesis. It has a role in photosynthesis because water with carbon dioxide, source of proton, source of oxygen in photosynthesis. Water acts as a reagent during catabolic processes. There is a hydrolysis of starch to sugars, hydrolysis of the starch to sugars. And water maintains turgidity, essential for cell enlargement, growth and structural stability of plants, herbaceous plants. It also helps in turgor changes, which are greatly responsible for many movements of plant organs. Stomatal movement during evapotranspirations, opening and closing of flowers, and certain leaf movements. Water plays a significant role in activation of seed germination by causing softening of seed coat due to imbibition, swelling of embryo and endosperm, entry of oxygen and hydration of the protoplasm. That means we have seen the role of water in plants, which justifies that it is required by all living organisms for their vital physiological activities. I hope through this video tutorial we have understood one thing, that water is most useful compound as per the plant relations are concerned, because it has certain unique properties on account of its unique physical and chemical characteristics. Hope you have understood the characteristics of the water and its role in plants. It will be continued to understand the water relations of the plant. In next video, we'll be going through the components of the water potential and its components. Till then, take care. Thank you for patient listening.